Hey, it's Dave here and welcome to another video on constipation. In this video, we're going to look at actually defining what constipation is, because it's not actually clear when you speak to doctors or when you speak to the general public what their thoughts and opinions are around what comprises or constitutes constipation as a condition. So, in my opinion, doctors are a little bit too lenient on this matter, and they'll kind of let you get away with a bit too much when it comes to bowel movements or lack of bowel movements. And so in my opinion, and this is why I've drawn this little diagram at the bottom here, we really need to be passing somewhere between about 8 to 12 inches of stool per day. So that's, 8 to 12 inches, give or take an inch or two every day. And that's roughly what this kind of little sausage at the bottom, or big sausage you might think at the bottom, kind of represents. So you want to have a look at that and think to yourself, am I getting rid of that amount of fecal matter every day? Or am I getting rid of only hard, dry, pebble or stone-like stools that don't get it anywhere near up to this volume of stool being passed during the day? And that's where you want to start to think about whether you're constipated or not. So that's kind of the gold standard, if you like. Now, why do we think that's the gold standard? Well, there's no hard and fast yes or no or right and wrong answer as to what constitutes the perfect amount of fecal matter that you're passing on a day-to-day basis. And now and again, you might have a day where you don't go, but if you're doing this most of the time, I think you're going to be okay. It kind of comes from the idea that was reported or written about by a guy called Weston A. Price in the early 1900s. Just my pen's not working there. The Weston A. Price. He was a dentist, but he was very interested in nutrition. And he traveled around the world and he looked at indigenous cultures around the world. People who were living on the land who were pretty much untouched by what we would call Western civilization, if you like. And what he found is that the vast majority of the time, they would be passing this amount of fecal matter or more every day. And they wouldn't be straining, they wouldn't have pain, they wouldn't be making noises like they're giving birth to a very large child when they were going to the toilet and things like that, all the things that you hear in the cubicles next to you when you go to the airport or some other kind of public toilet. And so he basically found that even though these people were eating very different diets depending on where they were on the planet, they still had really healthy digestive systems. They'd had a complete lack of the kinds of symptoms that we have in the Western world, like bloating and heartburn and irritable bowels and inflammatory bowel diseases and things like that. And they were all passing large amounts of stool every single day, regular as clockwork. So if we're not passing that level of stool and meeting those standards, to me, we're moving towards constipation. Now, of course, constipation can be mild, moderate, or severe. I said in the first video of this series that about 57,000 people in the UK in 2011 were hospitalized with constipation. That's a severe case when you're not going for 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe longer on end. But I think that if you go a couple of days without passing a stool, you've got mild constipation. If you go more than that, it's moderate constipation. When you get to a week, you're looking at pretty severe constipation. So think about it. Every day, most of us are eating 3 meals a day. Sometimes we're having snacks in between as well. That's an awful lot of food going into the digestive system if it's not coming out the other end. So what's happening to it? Well, it's just sitting there. It's getting more and more compact. It's festering away. It makes us more toxic. It encourages the overgrowth of all these nasty microbes that we're going to talk about later in the series, bacteria, yeast and fungi, parasites and what have you. And it becomes a complete mess. And eventually it can start to cause blockages, and it can really start to cause structural damage in the intestinal tissue and lead to some pretty significant problems. And that's why in that same statistic, 57,000 hospitalizations, there were nearly 60 deaths from constipation. Now, I don't want to have death by constipation on my gravestone. I'm sure you don't either. So I think it's a pretty good idea that we get down and honest about all of this stuff so that we can fix it and get your bowels moving and flowing again before they cause too many problems. Now, as I said, docs, I think, are too lenient. They let you get away with, it's okay if you only go every couple of days or every 3 days. Well, if you're doing a massive poo every few days, then that might be right. But I don't know many people who are pooping that size every 3 days, right? So if you're getting rid of that and that's your habit and you feel great on it, that's probably okay. But if you are going every 2 or 3 days, every 4 days, and it's hard, dry, pebble-like, stone-like, etc., that is not a good situation, and I suggest you do something about it. So, hope this has been helpful. What we're going to do in the next video is start to unwrap all the different reasons why constipation develops, because if we understand why it develops, then we can take the action steps to get rid of the constipation and get the bowels moving again. And there are many reasons why constipation develops. It's not, clear in each individual what's going on. It could be low thyroid function, poor energetics in the body, slowing everything down. It could be chronic infections. It could be food intolerances. It could be problems with the liver and the gallbladder. There's lots of reasons why the bowel slows up. And so we need to investigate them, unpack it all so that you understand, and so that you know how to investigate the underlying cause in your situation so that you can overcome the problem. So I look forward to going through that with you in the next few videos. And as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Take care. I'll see you soon.